Hi beloveds, this is Ashiana Love. Just felt inspired to share with you an ancestral meditation and a little bit of energy from our ancestors, as it's just been this blue moon, Halloween, Samhain, the Day of the Dead, and I've been feeling my own ancestors and our collective ancestors, all of the ancestors around the world, literally dancing. So my name is Ashiana Love, and I've been working with theta healing, ascension modalities, different ceremonies from different cultures for many years, including Bali, Indonesia, India, Egypt, Guatemala, Mexico, many different places and spaces. So I am here to do the work. I've also studied psychology, Kundalini dance, many things that bring through these ceremonies and these meditations. It's my greatest treasure, my greatest pleasure and privilege to be here for my clients, the people in my courses, and to really bring through these tools that I've been learning for decades here and now. So I also do one-on-one coaching, and reach out if you need any support. This is Ashiana Love, here now in Egypt, in Sinai, sending love through to all of our ancestors and to those yet to come. Mahalo. Thank you. How in touch are you with your ancestors? How in touch are you with your bloodlines and where you come from? Do you know the stories of your ancestors? Do you know some of the pain that they went through? Some of the hardship? Because your ancestors are responsible for you being here today alive. So firstly, just want to take a moment to just really deeply tune into the gratitude for our ancestors, the gratitude for those that came before us, no matter what they went through, that we are here alive today in this body, in this now, solely because of the lineage of our ancestors that came before us. Our fathers, our mothers, their fathers, their mothers, their great-grandfathers, great-grandmothers, and right down the line to imagine just where the first ancestor came from. Where did we really come to life? And the beings that fell in love or had sex to create this merging of the ancestors, the bloodlines, the lineages that came through with the beauty, with the grace, with the beautiful, amazing stories, and also with some of the distortions. So we're going to sit here today and just really take count of our ancestors and just really give a moment of how to just really honor and acknowledge these ancestors, because in many cultures we don't. You know, in some we do. I've lived in Bali for almost the last 8 years, and just really feeling the honoring of the ancestors, the temples that each and every family has to their lineage, has to their ancestors. The 10-day ceremony that where the ancestors are honored, where they came down from the mountains. How often do we really honor our ancestors? You know, I know in a lot of our Western cultures, I wasn't brought up really honoring or acknowledging my ancestors. I just knew my grandmothers, maybe my great-grandmothers had some pictures, or maybe some of their stories, but not even all. I didn't even know where my grandfather came from, how he got from Ireland to Australia. Now, there might be some stories in your ancestral lineage that might be good or might be interesting, that have also been passed down. As I do a lot of theta healing, a lot of my clients I work with, we go in to do a lot of healing with the ancestral lineage. And sometimes there are stories, there are secrets, there are patterns or vibrations or beliefs that are passed down consciously or unconsciously from our ancestors. And just as we receive our eye color, our hair color, some of our talents or our skills or our emotional traits, maybe even our hereditary disease patterns from our ancestors, we also receive a lot of these unconscious stories of entanglement that we may not even know or be aware of. So just take a moment to just breathe and to just really presence of your own ancestors. When I started working with a lot of the Indigenous people in Australia and going to the festivals and really wanting to learn culture and ceremony and all of these things, someone looked at us and they were like, "Where's your ancestors? Where are your own ancestors? What are your traditions? Where do you come from? What ceremonies did they do?" So just really taking a moment to tune into that. Where are your ancestors? How connected are you with your ancestors? Even in a lot of Western culture, in our isolation, or we get removed from our ancestors. Like in a lot of cultures and people around the world, the traditions are still strong, with the grandmothers and grandfathers looking after the grandchildren, and the middle-aged people going out to work, or just the family units of still living together. In many cultures and many places, I live here in Egypt right now, and before that Bali and India, and there's a lot more real family connection and community, for better or for worse. It's like these things come, and a lot of times we feel this conditioning also, or these things, or these constructs from our ancestors. I know some of my friends in Bali that live in the compounds and with their family and with their friends, and with, they get married and they have to go and live with their husband's family. This can be amazing. It can also be, there are many stories. And the beauty of our life and our lifetime is that each and every story is different, that no one person holds the same vibration. We might all have grown up in Australia or America or Egypt or Dubai or wherever we grew up, but we have a hugely different story from where we came from, where our ancestors came from, even how our parents met. Do you know the story of how your parents met, how they fell in love, how you came to be here? And the story of your grandparents, do you know how they met, how they fell in love, how they came to be here? Do a little bit of ancestral tree work and see, do you even know where your ancestors come from? There's a lot of, we can check the physical countries and continents of our ancestors now through our DNA. And as much as this energy and information is held in our DNA of where we come from, what our bloodlines are, and some of them must have been surprising to people as they open up to that. There might be secrets in the family of where different bloodlines came in that maybe we never know where they come from or how that happened. And we might have, long lost history that we didn't even know about. So let's just take a moment to honor all of the ancestors in the world, because it's been the Day of the Dead, it's been Samhain, we can do this anytime. It doesn't need to be on a certain day or a certain time. We can, hold these in our altars, just really give thanks to our ancestors. Let's just take a moment to just close your eyes for a second and just really feel in and tune into your own ancestors. And feel the love, the passion, the support that they're here to give you to carry on, that you are the living being that is in this family history, this family tree. You are the life that is on earth from so many that have been before you. Maybe there's those in front of you and yet to come, and just really also give thanks that you are an ancestor of the future. If you have children, maybe when they have children, one day down the line, you will be a great, great, great grandmother, and your stories and your life will also be a part of this ancestral chain, this ancestral lineage. So there's a few questions that we want to go into today, and I'm just going to take a moment to look at some different things and different perspectives. And then we'll do a meditation. Just really honoring our ancestors deeper and seeing what gifts they have for us, and also if there might be anything that they might want to change down the line, or burdens that they've given us that we might not need to carry anymore. This is a lot of the work that I do in the healing with theta DNA reprogramming and the ascension work that I do, and also living with different cultures around the world and ceremonies that we work with, actually really bringing through the ancestral energy and clearing some of these patterns or beliefs or the pain or maybe even the hereditary diseases that don't need to be passed on. So maybe your ancestors were strong, maybe they were powerful, maybe they've gifted you with an inheritance of maybe money, maybe wealth, but maybe also courage, or the treasure that's inside that your ancestors gave you. What is it? What are some of the beautiful treasures and traits that your ancestors have given you? You know, when I look into my ancestral line, there's this beautiful open heart and compassion and giving that my ancestors have passed down. That feeling of just wanting to look after everyone, wanting to serve, wanting to be here to help, to take on people, you know, to look after everyone around them, from creatures and animals and nature to people. This is one of the beautiful traits that's come down my ancestral lineage. And, you know, there's many that I'm sure have come down your own ancestral lineage. And when I tuned in over this day of the ancestral, I've been noticing a pattern that's come up for me about just putting myself last and putting everyone else first. And it came up a few weeks before this time, and I was just looking at, okay, you know, let's actually put myself first and not be on the end waiting for things to happen. And I felt my ancestors over this time coming and walking towards me and saying, this is, you know, like a trait of these ancestral lines that have put themselves last and not put themselves first. So this martyrdom and servitude, and comes especially through a lot of women that have given and served, and you might carry some of these traits as well. And these might be things that our ancestors have carried down, and they might be conscious or unconscious in ourselves now. So just to look at what's really real and how can we move forward with that. And these are some things that, while it's an honorable thing that my ancestors and even myself have given and given and given and put myself last and put everyone else first, it's not serving me anymore. So it's one thing I'm going to actually let go of in a ritual later. So put that on the flames. And honoring all those that have been before. You might have traits of tenacity, of perseverance, of, you know, of loving, of caretaking, of these beautiful traits of a lot of our ancestors, of really keeping the family together. Might be strength or pride. That pride might be part of a good trait, and it also might be part of a, you might be carrying this pride, and this pride doesn't actually allow you to be vulnerable or ask for help because you feel like you have to do everything yourself. Full body rushes. I know when we're on point that I actually get full body rushes and tingles all over when we're hitting a point. So many of you out here might be really realizing some of the things that we've carried, the traits that we've carried. These things can also come in physical illness, physical pain. I know, you know, my family carried a lot of diabetes on both sides, and this is traits of, you know, bitterness, resentment, anger. So I've had to work through a lot of that in my life in order to shift and change the DNA. So I don't have to keep that going. And or my family, and or my future, my children or my brother's children. I've been working on really clearing those lines so that this pattern ends here. And we can enjoy the sweetness of life. Might be stomach problems. You know, a lot of people get passed down this inherited, especially in Australia and the convicts. A lot of the people came over on ships, so they had a lot of stomach problems and weren't getting nutrition on the ships, or had to, you know, hold their bowels, so they have a lot of bowel problems. Eyesight can come from ancestors really not wanting to see something. Maybe something happened that the pain was too much, and somewhere along the line they were like, I don't want to see this. So the eyes shut down and we go a bit blind. And this is until someone in the line comes, and a light worker usually, and comes to actually re-pattern the lineages. So a lot of my clients, especially over the last while, have been working through more deeper traumatic patterns of abuse, of incest, of rape, of all of these things that maybe have been passed down the line, that, you know, while we're given these things, yes, it's horrible that we grow up in these things, you know, and we might be the ones that have come to shift that in the DNA, come to shift that not only for our ancestral lineage, but for the collective as well. And this is where we also have to go into the deepest of compassion, because we don't know where this came from, where the father or the mother came from in this lineage of abuse, of violation, of violence. You know, when you think about it, how many wars, famines, what places have your ancestors been through? What have they been through? What did they grow up with? You know, how many generations back? They didn't have all the things that we have now. I used to joke a lot with my mother when she used to say, oh my God, you kids have got so much, you know, you can go to the movies and eat popcorn, and I used to have to go and eat a carrot. I didn't really realize that the depth of actual non-resources that she had, you know, that yes, she had to go and eat a carrot at the movies because she didn't have money for any lollies or sweets or anything. And you know, these tales that some people tell, that yes, they used to get all of these things like oranges at Christmas. You know, how many of our ancestors have been through poverty, famine? And yes, we get passed down these lines, these traditions, and we're like, wow, why did I get given these things in order to move, you know, in order to shift? Like, why did I have to come in to break these lines? Sometimes I drop in to actually think of the amazing privilege and grace that even through all of the hardships that my ancestors have faced, I'm alive. You know, through the wars, the poverties, the famine, the displacement of people, through all of these things, the conditioning, the Christian conditioning, the, you know, blah, blah, blah. I can tell you some stories in my ancestral lineage and so many in my clients' ancestral lineage. We're alive, we're here, you know, and in this time we have the grace of really honoring our ancestors, honoring our lineage, and also we have the tools at our fingertips to be able to do the healing that maybe our ancestors also couldn't do. So let's just take a moment to feel what's happening in your ancestral lineage, to feel, is there anything bubbling up into the surface? Is there anything that this has brought up for you? Might be that your ancestors have had scars or held a lot of shame or guilt or repression. You know, I, growing up in Australia, had to do a lot of forgiveness work culturally when I came into my 20s and started awakening that who knows what my ancestors did in the 200 years that, you know, Australia was Indigenous land. So many people died, and my white ancestors came and were there. Had to do a lot of forgiveness work and a lot of sorry work and a lot of peacemaking with Indigenous traditions and tribes. Maybe in my line, maybe for the collective. You know what, and how far this goes back. In Australia, it's 200 years or more now. But in other traditions, you know, where our countries came, where the Indigenous people, the fights, the massacres, the killings, the maybe some of us have been responsible for that, not us, but our ancestors. And maybe we still might be carrying the weight of that on our shoulders until we do the processes, the ceremonies, the forgiveness of actually clearing that and releasing that. I've gone into many sessions lately over the last years and really seen where there's been things that have been out physically or metaphysically or emotionally, but a lot of sickness and illness, and really looked into where it's coming from. And it's coming from the ancestral lineage, that maybe some of their ancestral lineage actually were perpetrators or were part of being, you know, killers or the massacres, or in a lot of these places where really traumatic, tortured souls came through. And that lineage of ancestors have held that piece for maybe some of the souls that died, and those souls have still been coming back, and there's been a little bit of backlash on our own ancestors that have come down. So this is something we can also go into clear. It's quite amazing what comes through when I sit in theta in sessions and really work with what's there. We never know what our ancestors have been through. Sometimes we do, and sometimes we might not. Working with a lot of people over the years, especially in Asian cultures and Middle Eastern cultures and Celtic cultures, there's a lot of curses. You know, our ancestors have been like witches and they've cursed people and this and that can still be carrying down the line. Might be near to our knowing, you know, we might not be living in that world or tradition right now. We might have changed or moved, or, you know, where your ancestors have gone, have leaped in faith to actually have and provide a better life for their children, to escape some of these really bad situations. We never know. So that's almost enough talking for me now on our ancestors and the different themes. And I just want to look at going into a meditation on looking at what are some of the things that might have come down our ancestral lineage that maybe are burdens that we might want to shift. And then also, what are some of the gifts that our ancestors have given us, and really acknowledge these gifts, whether they're character traits, whether they're physical gifts, what they are. We'll just go in and actually tune into our ancestors in a meditation and a ceremony and see what they have to say. Are you ready? Okay, this is something that I lead people into a lot, is just ceremony and guided meditation. So just close your eyes and find a comfortable position, especially for the rest of this video, a place where you're not going to get interrupted. If you have kids around or are going to get interrupted, come back to this another time and just find yourself that space, and also 5 or 10 minutes after for integration. And if you're ready to go into that now, just find a still space, and creating a sacred space around us, a vortex of light. And just connecting with our breath into our heart. And just feeling in every cell of our body the gratitude for being alive. And just breathing deeper, becoming more present, letting go of any thoughts or stories or anything that's not keeping you present. Just being right here, right now. Anything that went on before or that will come after, just allowing the space of being fully present in this here moment to open up. The more present you are, the more you will receive. And just opening up in the heart, giving thanks to your mother and your father. If you know them, if they're still alive, maybe they're together, maybe they've separated. Maybe you don't even know your father or your mother. And if you were adopted, just giving thanks to the mother and father that have brought you up. And also just now calling in the strength of this bloodline, your ancestral heritage. You may know them or you may not. And just really opening up to what's here in the blood, what's here in the genetic lineage. What's in the DNA. As we now call forth our ancestors to be around us in a beautiful sacred space, you might imagine yourself going into a temple, into a sacred place of offering. It might be a garden or a spot in nature that's safe and secure. And as you come into this place, you feel the long lines of your ancestors. You might wish to call in, if those that are still alive and embodied, just really honoring them and giving thanks to them, and maybe even calling them in to sit with you while you go through this ceremony, as we go into the ones that have passed over, the ones that are on the other side, the ones that no longer breathe and no longer hold the mortal body. You might feel your ancestors starting to circle around you. Might start with your mother's line. Or let's start with the mother's line. And just feel her father, her mother. And even if they're still alive, going into the great-grandmother, the great-grandfather. Feeling those that are alive sitting with you, being present, embodied. As the ones that have passed on now come to visit. And this invitation of inviting them to give you some information, a message. Is there something that they've been carrying or passed on to you that you no longer need anymore? And let's start with your mother's lineage. It might be a pattern, a blueprint, a belief, something that they had to survive. Might be survival. Might be a hurt or a pain that they were never able to transmute or transform. It might be a memory of abuse, of rape, of not being looked after or cared for. Remember, we will go into the gifts later. Right now, we're going into just witnessing and seeing some of the things that might be heavy for us to carry, that no longer need to be here. We can bring to love and acceptance. And just witnessing these things. Maybe it's a personality trait or an emotionality. Maybe it's being overly critical, not being good enough. Maybe it's a false sense of pride or ego, being hard in the chin. Maybe it's a looking down on others or something, whatever it comes from. Just see something in your mother's lineage. And there might be one, or there might be many ancestors that come forward if you see them, or you might just be aware of little things in your heart, in your presence. Things might be coming up in your mind. Might be a fear, an isolation. Might have been an unmet need that they didn't have fulfilled in this life. Maybe a belief of punishment, of wrong, maybe some religious construct of sin or evil or wrongdoing that's kept shame or guilt in the cells. Whatever it is, just going far back as we can, just receiving a few pieces now. There might be so much more that wishes to come through. And if you wish to pause this to go in to receive deeper information, you can, or come back another time, or find another way that your ancestors can connect with you, or just know that there's more that wants to be unraveled, there's more that wants to be uncovered. As we now give thanks to your mother's line, your great-grandmothers, great-grandfathers, and way back beyond. And we come now to your father's lineage. What messages do they have for you? And just you might find a photo or memory. Even if you don't know them, just feeling a sense of what might be there. Maybe there was a hardness, a betrayal. Maybe there was a victimization. Maybe judgment. Maybe even racism, something that is no longer needed to be here. And just with loving compassion. Just seeing what your grandmother's father's lineage holds, what your mother's father's lineage holds. And just receiving that information now and just feeling that, loving that, accepting that. As they've given this up to you now, just really give thanks for the life. Give thanks for everything they passed on to you. You might touch them and love them and just send some unconditional love back to them as well, through all their hardships, pain, challenges, trials, tribulations, victories. Now just giving thanks to your mother's line. Just taking a last moment to receive if there's any information or any whispers of things that they wish for you to know now. Anything that might need to be released from your being, your subconscious, your unconscious. And just feeling your ancestors dancing with your mother's line, just going and dancing around you in the garden. As we now call on your father's line. And just starting with your father's mother, down that line. Is there anything that she wishes you to know, or from your great-grandmothers, wish you to know or be aware of in this time? Things that might be challenging you consciously or unconsciously, or might need changing in your DNA. And just giving thanks to those bloodlines, where they come from. Might be physical ailments, it might be mental or emotional things. Might be something that's been deeply embedded in the psyche that wishes to come forth now, to be unraveled, to be revealed, and to be accepted and released. I'm just giving thanks to your father's mother. Maybe things that have been handed down, bitterness, rage, anger, betrayal. The charity of a giving victim consciousness. I'm just calling that in, giving her thanks, and just putting your hand on her heart as well, like you did and can do with all your other ancestors, just giving thanks for the life. And just taking any burdens, knowing that you're the one to dance them free. And just feeling those things now as you welcome your father's father. Just see if there's anything that might have been passed down or might be in that ancestral lineage that want to be healed, or a burden or something there. Might be a feeling that was given to your father. You not being good enough, having to strive, having to prove yourself. Maybe a higher purpose or a pain that they were carrying. They were never able to speak or share. Might be an unconscious burden or physical ailment that right back, it might not even be from them. It might be from way back before them, things that they were given to by their fathers and mothers and forefathers and foremothers, and right back. Just giving thanks to your father's father and putting your hand on his heart now and just sending back unconditional love and giving thanks for life. Now just seeing your father's lineage just dancing back into the sacred space around you as you're calling in all the ancestors, and your grandparents are still alive, just putting them in the sacred space around you, sitting as you call in the ones that have left their body. And just now feel a general dance of this mixing and merging of the ancestral lineages, as happens with the sacred marriage and the bloodlines uniting and uniting and uniting down the family tree. And just giving one last bow to them and just thanking them for their information, their wisdom, for the burdens, for the things that they've carried, for the things that they were unable to heal, that they passed down, for their limitations, for their lack, the lack of knowledge of things that they may not have had the grace to be able to deal with or to heal in their times, that you're here now, enabling this witnessing and sacred space to take on these challenges and change them. Now just feeling them circling around you, all of them, as they come in maybe one by one and just give you their gifts and show you what gifts and strengths or power that they've given to you, that they're here to give to you. What have they healed? What in the songlines and in the bloodlines of your ancestral entwining? What victories have they passed on? And they might give you these gifts, might be character traits, they might be emotions, they might be strong things that have been passed down your bloodlines. Maybe character traits, or they might be physical gifts. They've come in however, whatever form they come in, just receive them as they come in one by one. What is in this inheritance? It's been passed down, mother to mother, father to daughter, mother to son, all through these ancestral lineages. What keys have they had? What keys are they giving you? What doors have they opened for you to be in this body and this life now? What gifts, what talents, what skills? Maybe they were hidden, maybe they didn't even know about them. They were buried in the unconscious, and you're here to open them. And just receiving all these gifts, receiving all these gratitude as you bow to your ancestors, and your ancestors bow to you for life, for passing on this current of generations, this bloodline, right down through all the future, through the children, and right down through the line. And just feel the healing, feel the depths, feel the songs and the stories that you're passing on now to your children and those that are yet to come, as you will one day become an ancestor as well. Just breathing in the strength, breathing in the courage, breathing in the life, and just giving one last breath for compassion for your ancestors. One last breath for forgiveness for anything in this incarnation. And one last breath for gratitude. And then giving thanks as you release them. And then go back to their sacred place in your family tree. Feeling loved, acknowledged, a little lighter. Proud of you. And just knowing that they're there for you, that they're there to support you along the way of your journey, your mission, your service, your passion. And just giving thanks to this sacred space, the garden or the temple that held this beautiful journey with your ancestors here and now. And just turning and walking back. This place with your heart more open, with knowledge, skills, things that you might need to work on, or gifts. And as you come back to your body now, feel your fingers and toes, the fingers and toes that came from the life of your ancestors. So your bloodline, your heart, your veins pumping through your body, just taking a breath of compassion into now, into any challenges that you might have or been holding, any victories or wins that you might have here and now. As you take 3 deep breaths back into your heart and come into this moment now, feeling all of your cells tingling. And when you're ready, just opening your eyes and just feeling the room around you, feeling the sense, the presence that you are an offering of life. And how can you give your best life to your inheritance, to where you come from and to where you're going? With that gratitude of everything that you've seen. Maybe you want to journal, write things down, paint, just integrate, drink lots of water. Maybe you want to just lie down and just still receive the gifts from your ancestors. Or maybe even some of the things that might be here to work with, those traits, those things that you might have a little bit of work to do. And sometimes our ancestors do pass down this work, and this is a lot of the work that I do in Vedic healing, ascension work, and ceremonies and rituals in different courses. And there's a meditation in Earth Angels Awakening that I'm going to go and do now, and that I invite you to join if you feel to go on a deeper immersion of a lot of these teachings. And also in Earth Angels Awakening, this clearing for the ancestors, because we can be given these things, we can know some of these things, but we can actually then go in and clear them in the DNA, these beliefs, these unconscious scars, these things that we're given down. We can also clear any vows or contracts that were there, or how we hold these things from our ancestors, because we might not need to carry these burdens anymore. You might be the one that are here to actually lift them and send them back, so that we can live in more grace and more growth, not only for us, but for our families, for our children, and for the world around us. There might be some deeper healing that you want to go into. I do also work one-on-one with people, doing a lot of this work with ancestors, as well as a lot of other things in the belief changing and upgrading, and it's really calling in all these lineages of light. So most of all, just give thanks to your life. Give thanks to your ancestors in this time, for all the hardships that they've been through, and the miracle of life, the miracle of birth, that you're even here and celebrating, and that you have access to the tools, the transformation, you have access to the life, to the breath. And while you have breath, while you have life, you can transform, change, you can make your ancestors proud, you can make yourself proud. We have so much available to us in this time. So give thanks for all the food that you might even have, for the roof over your head that maybe some of your ancestors didn't have along the way. And if you're watching this, you have access to technology, a computer or a phone, or the means to actually be able to relate and communicate, to learn, to grow, to upskill, to change, to transform, to live your deepest dreams and passions. And if anything in your ancestral lineage is holding you back, or anything else is holding you back, then do the work to release that, because we are here to live the wildest dreams, the biggest dreams, to fulfill that which we're here for on earth. And you are so worthy of being free, of having all that you need to really live the biggest and best life possible. Not just for yourself, but for your ancestors, but for those yet to come. So I want you to just tune in before we close, and just, is there one little commitment that you can make to becoming a better ancestor? Is there a story or a change or something in the ancestral line that you'd like to break, to pass on, to become a better ancestor for all future generations, whether you have children or whether you don't? You see this being passed down, this being an inspiration to those in front of you, your grandchildren or any children in the world, that they know that this is possible, that maybe where you came from and where you're going is the story that you write in your life is what you have the power to do. So what is that that you're claiming or committing to breaking that chain or to upgrading in yourself? Maybe there's some contracts and vows and odds and some deeper work that you need to go in to do that. Maybe there's some coaching that you can get to really break those lines and come through the other side. Just receive whatever it is that you need to make that commitment to grow and to fulfill your dreams and to live and be the best ancestor that you can. So as we close out today, just know that there's so much more, that if you want to find out any more about ancestral healing, past life healing, changing belief systems, how we go and work in the DNA, check out my website or any other courses or offerings. It's been a life work to bring this here today, and many ceremonies and many cultures and much learning and skills, and yeah, so much to make my ancestors proud as well, and to break the chains and to open up to the gifts that they've given me. And I'm here to share that with the world. It's my commitment and dedication to help people become better parents, to help people become better ancestors, and to break these chains and open up to the highest divine purpose that we can be living on this earth. That's my commitment, and I'm here to share that with the world. So see what's available, and if you need any support in any way, ancestral, otherwise, clearing or upgrading, I'm so here, so reach out. Blessings. With love from Egypt, Sinai, at this time, as we feel the collective consciousness of our ancestors, and just giving thanks to everywhere that we all come from the birth, and for what we're coming into, what the cycles that we're completing, and the new beginnings that we're creating. To live your dreams today. This is Ashiana Love, and I'll share the links below for any of the websites or courses that are upcoming. Blessings. We'll see you soon, and look forward to, please write the commitment that you made in the link below in the comment section. The more we witness, the more we have collective empowerment of the things that we're breaking, you might find that you're not alone. You know, so many people are also going through these things as well. So we're all here to do it together. Seek the support you need and the counsel that you need. So much love and gratitude. And check out the other videos on the divine counsels, on any of the other things that are shared on YouTube or on my website. So much love.